Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition breaking news episode of the Miami Tech Pod. I'm Cesar. I'm here with Maria, Brian, Will, Alfonso, and Emilio from OnChain and Cryptoys. What's up, guys? You have a little news to share? Is anything going on in your world or what?
No big deal.
Slow week on our side.
Slow week.
So, Will, it's only, we have to do it justice, right? So we have to kick it off to you to really, tell the listeners what you've been up to, what you've been building over the last, few months here, and how really you've become the Bobby Axelrod of NFTs, right?
Oh, wow.
I'm working my way up there, even though the way things shook out for Bobby, in that's a little bit of a roller coaster. Right?
Spoiler alert.
On that roller coaster just yet. But hey, this is exciting. We're stoked to talk more about the company now. You guys have known about it kind of behind the scenes for a while, because again, we co-host this show together. So it's actually really fun. You guys were like taking jabs on other episodes. You're like, so yeah, Will's up to something.
I want to count how many times we alluded to there being something and news coming out.
Yeah, so this is it. I mean, now we can finally kind of talk about it publicly, and we're excited. This is something that Emilio, Alfonso, myself, and Freddie and JT, we've been working on this project for a little bit now. This has been a side project of ours that we worked like our nights and weekends on for a while, before the NFT market was really a thing. There really wasn't a market. Brian, you will remember, at Wynwood Diner, right? We took you out. I think it was me, Emilio, or it was the three of us, you, me, and Emilio. Mm-hmm. And we were showing you kind of some like the early parts of this project, and you were giving us some great feedback on it. And yeah, that was like the early foundational work. We started this company inspired by our kids. I wrote in my Twitter thread just the full origin story if anybody's interested in it. But effectively, my daughter and Emilio's daughter has been obsessed with this toy craze called blind bags and surprise unboxings, and we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on it over the years because, frankly, they're addicted, to these things, which are basically like basketball cards, like buying a pack of basketball cards, but instead of cards, you'll get a random toy. And as we looked into it, because we're like, what are we spending all this money on for our kids? We looked into this industry. And it was a multi-billion-dollar segment of the toy industry. So, my daughter in particular, she would just keep collecting them, and then she would collect them, and then they would collect dust on the shelf. There would really be no use for them after the novelty of collecting and chasing them wore off. And then, one day we were, going to donate all these things to charity. And she tells me, she's like, listen, what would be really cool is if I could collect these, but then actually do things with them. Like, it'd be cool if like you could play games with them. And as soon as she started talking about it, that was like the light bulb moment where, this was a few years back. CryptoKitties had just launched at the time. They made news because they had taken down the Ethereum blockchain. So there's all these articles about the congestion of Ethereum. Maybe it's not able to scale and all that. And then CryptoKitties every day were like, there was some news about a record price break. Like, I remember in particular, CNBC wrote an article that a CryptoKitty had sold for over $100,000. And nowadays, like an NFT sells for $100,000 every hour. But back then, that was a really big deal. So that was like the big light bulb moment, is like, wow, here's this multi-billion-dollar segment of the toy industry. My daughter's interested in like having new utility around these toys that she collects. Maybe we can actually do these digitally for the first time ever. And if the whole industry is predicated on rarity and scarcity, you got to make them NFTs. You got to make them blockchain. So went over to Emilio and Alfonso and said, hey guys, I got a pitch for you. Blind bags on the blockchain. What do you think? And both of them were like instantaneously in. It was like the easiest sell ever. Because Emilio has a daughter around the same age as Victoria, a Kemi. So Emilio's very well aware with this stuff. And Alfonso, if you know Alfonso, what you guys do, on his desk, he's got collectibles and toys, and he's got everything, like stuff like this on his desk. So exactly as he's showing you. So it was an easy sell. I was like, hey, Fonz, you want to build something in the toy industry? He's like, oh, yeah, I'm about it. So yeah, we got to work in our nights and weekends on this project, and it took a while for the market to kind of come around to the idea, but yeah, here we are. In late 2020, the NFT market started to pick up, and when the market was ready, we were ready with a fleshed out project to take this thing to the next level. So we're excited to finally talk about it publicly, for the first time ever.
And for those that don't know, I mean, Will, Alfonso, Emilio, you guys worked together, right? Before this, why don't you share a little bit of that?
This is not
that
your first
background.
rodeo. Yeah.
You got
No.
the band, you got the Beatles back together, right?
Would it be the Beatles? I don't know. That feels like too strong a comparison. But yeah, this is definitely not our first rodeo.
Yeah. I mean, we a lot of people know in the Miami tech scene, like we co-founded a company called Live Ninja, which was based out of Wynwood. And I think we were more known for making waffles than making software. I think that was like a big, part of what we did was every week opened up the doors of that office to the community and had this thing called Waffle Wednesday, which was sponsored by the Knight Foundation. Shout out to Matt Hagman and Raul Moas for sponsoring those. Great times. And yeah, we ran that company from 2012 to 2017. We sold that company in 2017. I think we had grown the company to about, 21 employees at its height. And then, we, decided to sell the company to IDT Telecom in 2017. So, it was fun. It's fun to get the band back together. It's crazy because it feels like we're just picking up right where we left off. I think that was the beauty of this, is there was already a cadence in place. I don't know, Emilio, Fonz, if it felt that way to you guys, but I mean, there was like just no thought to it. It's just like, all right, we're building something again.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was kind of the draw, and more to your point, we ended with 20-ish or so people, and now we're starting with 20-ish or so people on this one. So
that's bananas.
Right? Amazing.
Yeah.
So let's do this quickly before we get into OnChain and Cryptoys and all that. Alfonso, why don't you share your background? How you jumped into tech and entrepreneurship, and then Emilio, you go next.
Oh man, tech and entrepreneurship. I have been involved in tech for a long time. I made my first website when I was like 12 or 13, around there, and playing the Diablo video game. My clan needed web representation, so I made us a website on GeoCities, and that's basically how I got involved in like web design. And then right around that time is when I also met Will in middle school, and he caught me like drawing Vegeta in homeroom or something. And we became friends, and he put a mouse in my hand and taught me a couple things, and not even Photoshop. It was Paint Shop Pro at the time. And from there, we started our first venture together, making wrestling websites and images for kids in our school and around the internet. And from there, design and illustration, and it just became a real passion for me. I enjoyed doing things on the web and creating in that manner, but it took me a long time before I was actually able to develop the confidence to really see this as a long-term career. I went to college and was a political science major for 2 years before I dropped out and realized that, professional design on the web was really what I wanted to do with my life. So it took a while, but I bounced around from, design firm to design studio. Eventually I opened up my own and took on international clients. And fast forward to 2011 at some point, when Will reaches out to me, he's like, "Hey, are you still doing design?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm totally still doing design." He's like, "Awesome." He's like, "I got this great idea and I need some help." And that was basically Live Ninja. So we got together there, and then very shortly thereafter, we met Emilio and got on, and the three of us became, best friends and business partners. And it feels like only yesterday, but at this point, it's been well over 10 years. It's amazing.
I think Emilio stepped out for a sec, but
yeah, to go pull something out of the oven.
Yeah, thankfully this isn't live. Just give me 1 second. I gotta take something out of the oven real quick.
No worries.
Yeah, we'll slice this part out. But I mean, if there's something delicious, Emilio, please share with the audience.
Yeah, no. We were just talking about waffles. If there's a ham or something,
I'm making Ted Lasso biscuits. You know what those are?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Can you show us that?
Show us the biscuits.
I mean, okay, sure. Hold on. So I got this little box, right? Little pink box for biscuits, right? And then I'm about to.
Is that where you're gonna be for Halloween?
What's that?
Is that where you're gonna be for Halloween?
Yeah, Ted Lasso. Yeah.
This podcast is obviously taking a turn, and now this is cooking with Emilio.
Now this is cooking with Emilio. So here's where they come out, and I'm gonna let them rest for a little bit.
So good.
And after they rest for a little bit, I will cut them, and they will be delicious. All right, let me go back. Sorry, guys.
This man makes software, smart contracts, and biscuits. That's you, bro.
That's right.
Yeah, that's my podcast. Smart contract investing.
I'd subscribe.
What about you, Emilio? What's your background in tech and entrepreneurship?
It's not at all like Fonz's or Will's. I was a musician for many, many years.
What?
Half my life actually just touring and performing everywhere and anywhere all across the world. And the tech part came on the bus. The tech part was creating websites. This is like pre MySpace, like back when websites had guest books and that kind of stuff. And my manager at the time, I would create websites for the other artists on his roster. Yeah, and just there was a lot of time between cities and stuff where you can only party so much, right? And that's kind of like where my mind was, to try and stay healthy at the same time. But then moving from LA to Miami, trying to start over. I had gotten married at the time and met Will at a Starbucks. No, I met Will at his wedding. Actually.
Wait,
I
what?
met Will at his wedding.
It's true.
And that was
Did you
nothing more
crash
than
the
like a handshake.
wedding?
Yeah, no. So his wife, fiance at the time, and my fiance at the time became friends, and so she was invited. I was obviously the plus one, and so that's when I first met Will, and it was nothing more than a handshake, just hey, how you doing, whatever.
Thanks for the free food.
But then after that, we met at a Starbucks, and he pitched me the idea for Live Ninja, and I was working on something else at the time that was kind of along similar lines, having to do with live streaming video and that kind of stuff. Which if anyone remembers, the initial concept for Live Ninja was a marketplace where you could buy and sell knowledge, right, via video chat. And yeah, we just hit it off. And since then, that was kind of my transition from music into tech. Was just what else can I do? The only other thing that I could do was website related, and yeah, that's kind of the beginning of my tech career.
It's going back to like Will, to the conversation we had 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago at that diner with you and Emilio.
Yeah,
it's so crazy how timing has to do with everything, because it's not just timing of like the market, but it's also like how long it takes for certain concepts to sink into sort of the popular vernacular. Like I remember asking you guys, like, why does this need to be on the blockchain? That was like the first question I asked you guys, right? And then there wasn't as clear of an answer back then as there is now, right? Because like my stance is always like, if something doesn't require multi-party trust or has a lack of trust in the central organization running it, why do you need to put it on a blockchain, right? But the liquidity and the tradability and the portability of NFTs wasn't really a popularized concept at the time yet, right? Because like CryptoKitties could have just as easily been built on a single database, like internal database at the time, right? It didn't have to be on the blockchain, but the tradability aspect or the commercialization, and all that was critical to it being on Ethereum and stuff like that. And so like it didn't register like as to why that was such a critical component, but like it required hundreds of other examples of people making experiments in this space for this to then click for everybody, myself included, as to whether or not why this was the right way to do this, and also, at the time things like Flow didn't necessarily exist, and a lot of the early chains and stuff like that were more rudimentary or didn't have all the feature set you guys would have needed in order to like make this viable. Because like, can you imagine a little kid paying $800 in gas fees because they bought a hat for their corgi, right? Like that'd be absurd, but it was really like kudos to you guys for like having been on the sort of path of like the tech may not be there yet, but this makes a lot of sense to us, and the tech will eventually catch up, right? Because it's not like you had to build all the underlying infrastructure for the blockchain,
right?
That stuff exists now that didn't exist 2.5 years ago. So kudos, guys.
I appreciate
There's still a lot more
Thank you.
to be done. Thank you. Yeah, there's still a lot more though, and I think that's kind of the key. Is like the goal, in my eyes, anyway. It's not necessarily. I think people get confused on the tech. So much focus on the tech. Really, it's in my eyes, the roadmap to like mainstream adoption. What does that look like? Because how do you fill in the gaps? And There's so many purists that are just so focused on, if it's not fully decentralized and it's not even worth my time and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you're missing kind of the point. Like no one understands it quite like you do right now. People, whether it's the plumber down the street or the barista that made your Starbucks this morning, they have so many things on their plate and they have no time or interest at all into everything that's in your head right now. What they know is that they have a debit card. They don't want to remember 12 words. And what does that mean? If I lose them, then I lose all my stuff? What? Like, that's just so foreign to them, you know? So there's still a lot of gaps to fill. But I think the roadmap to get there is what's important right now.
Yeah, there's a transition that I think the industry of NFTs as a whole is going through. I equate what's happening now with NFTs is like we're in the dial-up modem phase of that industry. Like, you know, we just got our 56, K modem. We've just plugged in. We're hearing the dial-up sounds.
We're not even at 56K.
I mean,
this is 9600 baud.
Yeah.
This is like someone picks up the phone and it disconnects you from the internet stage.
Oh my God, that's right.
Like,
I forgot that used to happen like all the time.
I think here's the next phase. Like Coinbase having NFT wallets and stuff like that unlocks like 70 million people globally into this space, right? But that's still just jumping from, to keep using this internet connectivity analogy, that's going from like 56K to DSL modem, which by today's standards is garbage, right? And then once like you see like Robinhood and Cash App add NFT wallets in there, oh, that shit is gonna be on, because there's gonna be a lot of like fiscal responsibility going on, people buying random shit, but it's gonna be mainstream, and all of a sudden you're gonna have 120 million people in the United States with some variant of an NFT on their wallets.
Yes, correct. And our hypothesis is that the true on-ramp and the big floodgates, if you want to see the floodgates open to NFTs in a big way, is through the gaming industry. If you kind of zoom out a little bit and look at the numbers, there's roughly, again, it changes every day, but I think that last time I checked the data, it was like roughly like 175,000 active wallets on OpenSea. 175,000. That's nothing. There are over 2.5 billion gamers in the world, so you can just see once gaming and that industry comes on to NFTs, I think you're going to see just a massive rush, because at that point there's no putting the genie back into the bottle, because gamers grow up in a world where everything's predicated from like an economy basis on digital items and having power-ups and things like that, and what you can do differently in games. NFTs correlate to that very, very well. We're starting right now with like collectibles and the art market and things like that, but we believe the massive adoption is coming in gaming. I think that's the one of the easiest corollaries and parallels that people can make into how NFTs are going to kind of break into that mainstream audience. So we're super bullish on that particular sector.
So I have a follow-on question to that, and that I'd like Alfonso or Emilio to like weigh in. So historically, a lot of the gaming that we've seen, and by historically I mean like the last 5 years, a lot of the way these gaming companies make their money is through like in-app purchases, upgrades, and all that stuff. But those are all closed ecosystems. Like, how do you guys think Cryptoys or other NFT objects are going to convince these companies, the Activisions of the world, the Robloxes of the world, to allow third-party content into their sort of walled gardens?
I'll start, and I guess Emilio and Fonz, you can chime in on your thoughts, but I feel like what's happening here is kind of what happened in the music industry when Napster came onto the scene. There was all this disruption, everybody fought back, all the labels, and then eventually it became too big to ignore, and then the whole industry had to evolve into streaming and figuring out kind of digital rights and all that stuff and how best to monetize this new world. I think that's what's going to happen with NFTs. Companies like Activision or like big gaming companies, they're going to have to draw lines in the sand, and you already see that happening with like Steam and then Epic Games, and they put out a statement around blockchain-based assets in gaming. this is just going to be one of those Napster-like moments just in the gaming industry. There are going to be ecosystems that play nice. There are going to be ones that are still walled gardens. Customers can choose where they spend their time and put their wallets. And then there'll be open ecosystems, that are built on the blockchain that are transferable. So, I think that this is kind of one of those defining moments that a whole industry is about to evolve, and you'll see people on different sides of the coin, depending on, their values as a company.
I completely agree. It's honestly, it was such a good answer. It's almost hard to build on top of that, but everything Will said is basically correct. Like the walled gardens are interesting because either they're going to have to start opening them or they're going to be left behind in the dust. And it's going to be interesting to see how many new brands and how many like new IPs that are born from the Web3 space actually, like, how quickly they ascend into like Disney or Activision level heights, because they have a whole new community behind them, because they're protected by the community, not by the company. It'll be really interesting to see.
So I'm curious to hear kind of, we've been privy to some of the wild ride that has been the last few months for you all. But kind of taking us back to that moment, Will, you kind of pitched this to Alfonso and Emilio. You guys decide to, you immediately get it. You go all in. Take us through kind of the last year of working on this and the craziness that has ensued.
And as our good friend of the podcast, Lucy Lopez would say, the chequetazo that you guys just raised, right? We want to hear about that.
Totally. So yeah, this last year has been nutty. I feel like if you look back, like literally 1 year ago, like October 2020, I think that's when the NFT market really started ramping up. And everybody has their own thoughts about why it ramped up at that time. I give credit to Dapper Labs and NBA Top Shot for really starting everything. And I think this lends itself to Emilio's point of, what does non-custodial, custodial, blockchain, Ethereum, Flow, Polygon, does it all matter at the end of the day? Or do consumers just care about the product and the fact that it's on the blockchain? Flow and Top Shot, in my mind, answered that question. Because if you looked at Top Shot in October of 2020, that was like, hey, you can own your moments, and this is technically on the blockchain. And that was enough for consumers. They didn't even use the word NFT anywhere on the website. They didn't talk about how it was stored, seed phrases, custodial, non-custodial, etc. So that kind of started everything in October of 2020, where we were just like, okay, here's this project that we were working on for the past 2 years. Let's now really see if there's a market for it, because for the past couple of years before then, every time we showed this to people, nobody really understood it. Even folks in tech scene, like, hey, we showed it to Brian. Brian's one of the most respected technology minds in a community, and Brian's, hey, I'm giving you the credit if you're not going to give credit yourself. Brian's the guy that I bring stuff to for good, honest feedback. And again, the NFT market was really not there. Nobody knew what an NFT was. So it was really hard to kind of convey why an NFT and why it made sense. And until that point where kind of Top Shot introduced a whole new subset of people to blockchain and digital assets. And then slowly but surely that correlated with the rapid rise in Bitcoin price, and the crypto market started to kind of kickstart over again. And, we huddled up again as a team that we had, again, built this project on our nights and weekends. And we said, hey, there looks like there's a little bit of a market here for it. Let's start putting this out there in front of people. And we started showing it to people, more. Of course, it was still private, but we would send it and get feedback and then share with a few VCs. And then eventually enough interest started to come our way, because again, we had spent our nights and weekends on this stuff for a couple of years. So it's not like the NFT market got hot and we're like, hey, let's do an NFT company. This has been something we've been working on. So when the market got hot, we were ready with a product, like these refined digital animated NFTs. So as soon as it did, we started talking with some VCs, and shortly after that, we got our first a term sheet on a convertible note to take this company and really start it and kind of figure out how to do this full time, because at that time everybody was at their own full-time jobs, and we had a 9 to 5, and we couldn't really spend time working on it. But as soon as we got that initial investment, they were like, okay, here's some money, go quit your jobs. This idea is too good to not do this full time. And that's when we did. I think it was, earlier this year. And then right after that, we met Roham and the team at Dapper. And I showed this to Roham and he's like, I get it. I 100% get it. This is incredible. You got to build this on Flow. This is perfect for Flow. And then we started looking into it and we're like, yeah, it is. Flow is exactly the type of blockchain we want to build it on. And then Roham was just instrumental in kind of helping us take it to the next level, because shortly after that, he introduced us to a bunch of investors that they're working with. And then before we knew it, we had an oversubscribed round of funding. So it happened very fast. I think we're still processing everything from like looking like we were completely crazy to having an oversubscribed round within a few months. And, I think we're just, again, still processing all that.
My head's still spinning.
So, I'm curious. You guys mentioned how Top Shots was around, and I think Top Shots was probably one of the first things that popularized NFTs mainstream, right? But it was around for at least 6 months before, maybe even maybe even a year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Before it had that sort of inflection moment, right? I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was Anthony Pompliano or someone who's big in the early crypto space pushing it, or someone, right? But I'm curious, what do you what do you think? I don't know, and it might be too broad of a question to ask. What do you think is going to be the sort of inflection moment type thing for you guys, for Cryptoys? Is it Justin Bieber buying a Cryptoy, or is it one of these 8-year-olds on YouTube who has 50 million followers watching him unbox a toy doing it? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and by the way, when are we launching here? Let's start there and then go to Brian's question.
I feel like I'm doing a lot of the talking. I think we need to.
All right, cool. I'll take this one. When we're launching, I can't speak on it right now. Hence the poker facing. We're aiming for end of the year. Let's say that.
Yeah, we don't need to break that much news here. Just a little are we months away or are we years away?
Months away.
Months.
Okay.
I think the more appropriate question is, when are we getting into that pre-mint whitelist?
There we go.
AKA that friends and family allocation of Cryptoys.
Cryptoys is for the people. No whitelist coming, I'm afraid.
All right.
To answer your other question, it's hard to properly predict what that moment of inflection will be. I've thought about it, and it can come from so many different ways. But I don't know where it's going to come. I can answer as to where I want it to come from, because you touched on it, and I don't know if we're going to be able to share this with you today, but internally, the unboxing experience is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
The internet is not, y'all aren't ready, and y'all aren't ready for this unboxing. There's nothing like this. So if I had to choose where I want that moment of inflection, yeah, it's totally going to be from a YouTuber going through the unboxing and having their mind blown and sharing that with the internet, because it is mind blowing.
I think that's cool.
Sorry, we've been involved in this project for so long. I've had so much time to imagine and think about this unboxing experience. And then when I saw it not that long ago, it just surpassed anything that even my wildest imagination over the course of years had been building up to.
Yeah, but Alfonso, what you just said is super important to building a sustainable company. You just said it's the product itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Basically,
it's not an external force that's going to launch this. It's the actual product itself.
I fully believe that.
Fascinating. Emilio, your poker face is on. What do you think?
No, I think definitely. I mean, what we're building is to everything that Fon said. That plus the AI layer and everything else that we've got going on top of this is going to be something that just simply is going to blow everyone's mind. But I did say as a joke a month or 2 months ago that I wanted Kanye to tweet this out. And the more and more I hear that joke coming back around, the more I believe that I really want that to happen.
I mean, I don't know if we can promise Kanye, but I heard what's his face from Fire Festival? Ja Rule. He's like an NFT influencer now.
He retweeted one of our tweets.
By the way, so let me just we need a little bit of a rabbit hole here. So I went to the to the Dolphins game this weekend with Adam Garfield, right?
Mhm.
And Adam's been on the pod, founder and CEO of Speedy Tap, sold to Wix, all that, right? And we're here sitting, and he is like hardcore fantasy football, like the whole game, going back and forth, watching snaps, but also like on his phone. I was like, dude, like you're in an intense fantasy football battle. He's like, I'm going up against Ja Rule in this league.
I mean, I co-own that team with him, so
it was amazing. Like I'm here watching the Dolphins lose a devastating loss, and he's playing fantasy football with Ja Rule.
Yeah, that's me, Adam, and Chris Adamo.
Did you guys beat Ja Rule?
We did. We beat Ja.
Boom. All right.
Yeah.
Is this part of that League DAO thing that you guys were talking to me about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's flex. That's a flex.
All right. So Cryptoys, like let's talk about use of funds here. How are you going to deploy the $7.5 million seed round?
It's all about kind of building the best team humanly possible, really, and getting this product out to market as fast as possible and making it the best product it could possibly be. So we're actively hiring. We've hired a bunch of people. We're now 22 full-time team members. Big team on the art and the animation side, the 3D animation side. Emilio's got a sizable team as well on the back-end engineering side of things. Alfonso's beefing up his team on the front-end engineering and also design front. And then we have a big gaming aspect that we need to take to market as well. What good are digital toys if you can't play with them, right? This is not an NFT that just sits in your wallet and doesn't do anything. Like, these are interactive characters that you'll be able to do a variety of things with. So the whole gaming layer is something we're fleshing out. And then marketing is obviously a big piece of this, because we got to make sure people know about it. We got to position the company in the right way. So we're bringing on full-time marketers. We're actually hiring a CMO or a VP of marketing as part of this funding round. And then it's like full force into go-to-market strategy, in the next few months as we release these things. So,
and then Will, can you kind of, for our listeners, share, how you're thinking about, Cryptoys is one of the projects under the OnChain Studios umbrella, right? Is that how we should be thinking about it? But there will be others in the future, or is it a separate entity? Like, break that down for us.
Yeah, OnChain Studios is the parent company of Cryptoys. OnChain is the company, Cryptoys is the product, but it is the only product. It is the flagship product, and it is the only focus of the company for the foreseeable future. We structured it in a way that kind of gives us flexibility in case there were other opportunities that presented itself and we needed to be able to maneuver. But that's not even really in our peripherals right now. We're focusing 100% on Cryptoys and making that the best product it can be. And then kind of we'll see where things fall after that. But Cryptoys is the company.
So this is like, Pixar and Toy Stories, right? Like, they went all in there. It was a huge success. Right. And then after that, they pivoted and started, cranking out.
That's a good way, that's a good way to think of it. Just in the NFT space in particular, you do it this way because you'll have a lot of underlying technology that you might be able to reskin into other entities, into other IP and things like that. So you want to remain nimble. But again, like, we got to make sure we, crush it with Cryptoys and make that the best product possible. We're not going to dilute our focus on anything else for a very long time.
And how, talking more, we always try to bring it back to Miami here. Of the 22 team members, how many of them are local? I know, clearly there's the founders have roots here, but is it right now a distributed network of employees everywhere? Is it, a lot of people that are we going to see a OnChain Studios HQ in the future down here? What's the deal?
Right now, completely decentralized, much like the product. It's all over the country, and we want to make sure we retain the best talent possible, location agnostically. There will always be bonus points if there are folks located in Miami. So we always take that in consideration, given how much time we spend in Miami. So, but right now, the company's completely spread all over the country right now, all 22 team members.
We do have some hires that live in Miami, though, currently.
Yep.
And as I began expanding the team, the first place I started looking for talent was in Miami.
Yeah. And again, if there was the most popular city on the roster is Miami. So, that'll hopefully always stay the dominant one.
So how can people learn more, right? We're entering the plug phase of this episode. We all saw Nancy's coverage and the Miami Herald and everyone on the Rays, but I'm sure you guys are also building community. I know there's a Discord, all of that. Like how can folks really jump head first into this project?
Yeah,
join the Discord. It is such a live and vibrant community right now. Like I check on it during the day periodically, and like new people keep joining, new conversations are sprouting up. They dedicated a whole channel to solving the mathematical equations on the Pandas chalkboard from the website launch. This community is incredible.
Yeah, it's a fun group for sure. And I had to mute it because it's just too much.
Anything else, Will, Alfonso, Emilio?
Go to cryptoys.io, check out the project, hit me up and let me know your feedback and what you think of it. We're actively hiring. So if you're interested in what we're building and want to join the team, drop me a note. The Discord link is on the website. So if you want to join the Discord, go to cryptoys.io, scroll down to the Discord section and join. Considering that I'm also a co-host and a guest on the podcast simultaneously, I will make sure to drop the link in the description box.
there you go. And then we'll wrap on a public service announcement here. All right, this is a public service announcement for Tiger Global. Okay, guys, give them a little bit of time. I know you're going to be right at their doorstep. I know that you guys are going to be elbowing everybody out for the Series A. Like I get it, but just a little bit of time for them to build, hire their marketing team, scale a little bit, right? Don't put the stress on Will, Alfonso, and Emilio. They just finished a raise. They don't want to see a term sheet for a while. Just throwing it out there.
Let some of us local VCs into the round. Don't take it all.
Maria's asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. This was excellent. Thank you so much for sharing the story. Congratulations, honestly, on some serious traction here early. We're excited to see what you guys are building, and we'll have you guys on the pod again to right around the launch. How about that?
That sounds good. And I would say that I can divide my life into kind of two moments. There was pre-Miami Tech Pod and post-Miami Tech Pod. As soon as we started this podcast, guys, everything started picking up for Cryptoys. So I don't know. I would say that for anybody considering coming on the podcast, hey,
do it.
It could change your life. So
Andreessen will knock on your door with a check.
Will you answer?
A direct link. Awesome, guys. All right, have a good one. Take care. We will we'll be with you for episode 40 something next week.